Have you ever met someone in their 90s or even hundreds who seems sharper, stronger, and more full of life than people half their age? It's not just good genes or luck. The truth is, the world's longest living people share a few simple habits that anyone can start today, no matter your age. And the best part? These aren't complicated diets or extreme workouts. They're small, everyday choices that add up to decades of vitality. So if you've ever thought, I'm too old to change, or it's too late for me, stick around, because today we're uncovering the 3 secrets that centenarians swear by and how you can make them work for you after 60. Now, I know what you might be thinking. People in blue zones like Okinawa or Sardinia have it easier. They live in paradise. But here's the surprising thing. Researchers found that only about 20% of longevity is genetic. The rest, it's lifestyle. And that means you have way more control than you think. So let's dive into the first habit, the one that's so simple you'll wonder why you're not already doing it. The longest living people don't pump iron or run marathons. Instead, they move naturally all day long. Gardening, walking to the market, kneading bread, even folding laundry by hand. These tiny bursts of activity keep their bodies strong and their joints fluid. But here's where modern life trips us up. We've outsourced movement. We drive everywhere. We sit for hours. We even buy gadgets to avoid bending or reaching. So how can you bring this habit into your life? Start with movement snacks. Stand up every 30 minutes and stretch. Park farther from the store. Swap the electric mixer for a wooden spoon. It's not about sweating. It's about staying limber and independent. Because the goal isn't just to live longer, it's to enjoy those extra years. Take Margaret, a viewer from Florida who wrote to me last month. At 82, she'd stopped going upstairs because her knees ached. Her doctor said, "That's just aging." But then she started adding 5 minutes of gentle movement every hour. Heel lifts while brushing her teeth, arm circles during TV ads. Within weeks, she could climb stairs without pain. Why? Because her body remembered how to move. And yours can too. Here's a myth we need to bust. Centenarians aren't counting calories or choking down bland health food. In Okinawa, they eat purple sweet potatoes for breakfast. In Sardinia, it's whole grain bread dipped in olive oil. The key? Real, unprocessed food that's packed with color and flavor. But the biggest secret isn't just what they eat. It's how. They stop eating when they're 80% full. They savor meals with family, and they never eat alone. Studies show that eating socially can add years to your life by reducing stress. So tomorrow, instead of eating lunch in front of the news, call a friend. Make your plate as colorful as a rainbow. And if you crave dessert, enjoy it. Just make it yourself with real ingredients. Because longevity isn't about deprivation, it's about joy. When 89-year-old Carlos from Texas started adding 1 leafy green to every meal, he didn't just lower his blood pressure, he rediscovered his love for cooking. Now his grandkids beg for his famous kale chips. That's the power of small, delicious changes. You know, when I first learned about the world's longest living people, I assumed their secrets would be all about food or exercise. But then I met a 102-year-old woman in Greece who told me something I'll never forget. She said, "I wake up every morning with a reason to stand up." And that brings us to the third habit, the one that might just be the most powerful of all. In Okinawa, they call it ikigai, your reason for being. It's not some grand destiny. It could be tending your garden, teaching your great-granddaughter to knit, or even just sharing coffee with neighbors every morning. These small purposes give centenarians a fire that keeps them going. But here's the problem. Retirement often strips this away. We go from I'm a teacher, or I'm a builder, to I'm retired. And without that sense of contribution, something inside us starts to fade. But it's never too late to find your ikigai again. Start by asking, what did I love doing at 35 that I've forgotten? Or what tiny thing could I do today that would make someone smile? Maybe it's volunteering to read to kids at the library, or finally writing those family stories down. Your purpose doesn't need to change the world, just your world. Take 91-year-old Rosemary from Canada. After her husband passed, she felt adrift until her granddaughter asked her to help grow herbs for a school project. Suddenly, she was the plant whisperer again. Now, she starts every morning checking her seedlings. That little ritual, that ikigai, gives her day's structure and joy. And science backs this up. Studies show that seniors with a strong sense of purpose are 50% less likely to develop Alzheimer's. Your mind thrives when it has a mission. Now, here's where it gets exciting. These 3 habits, natural movement, mindful eating, and living with purpose, don't just add years to your life. They multiply each other. Think about it. When you have a reason to get up, you move more without realizing it. When you cook a meal for friends, you're eating and connecting. It's a beautiful cycle. But I know what some of you are thinking. That sounds great for people in tiny villages. But how do I do this in my life? Well, let me share a simple trick that works no matter where you live. Centenarians don't rely on willpower. They build rituals, tiny, non-negotiable habits woven into their days. For example, a Sardinian shepherd I read about starts his morning with a 10-minute walk to check on his sheep, then eats a handful of almonds with his brother. That's it. No gym membership or superfood smoothies. So let's create your own longevity ritual. Pick one thing from each habit. Maybe a 5-minute stretch when you wake up, adding one colorful veggie to lunch, and calling a friend every evening. Do these 3 things for 21 days, and I promise you'll feel the difference. And remember, this isn't about perfection. Miss a day? No problem. The longest living people have plenty of feast days and lazy afternoons. What matters is coming back to these rhythms most of the time, because longevity isn't a sprint. It's a slow, joyful dance. And after studying these longevity secrets, I finally understood why. It wasn't just the vegetables she grew or the miles she walked. It was this last habit, the one we haven't talked about yet, that made all the difference. In every blue zone, from Costa Rica to Japan, centenarians have one thing in common. They're never isolated. They're surrounded by what Sardinians call their tribe, not just family, but friends who've known them for decades. Here's why this matters. Loneliness after 60 is more dangerous than obesity or smoking 15 cigarettes a day. But being part of a close-knit community, that can add 10 to 15 years to your life. Your tribe reminds you to take your medicine, gets you walking to weekly coffee dates, and, most importantly, gives you that spark we talked about earlier. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. My friends have passed away, or my family lives far off. But your tribe doesn't have to be blood relatives. It could be the ladies from your old book club, the guys at the community workshop, or even new friends you meet at a water aerobics class. The key is showing up regularly. In Okinawa, they form moais, groups of 5 friends who commit to meeting every week for life. You don't need anything that formal, just 2 or 3 people you can laugh and be real with. Because here's the miracle. When you combine this with our other habits, something magical happens. Let me paint you a picture. Every Tuesday, you meet Doris and Joe at the park. You walk the loop together, then share the figs you brought from your garden. Along the way, You're planning next month's fundraiser at the library. See how it works? One habit fuels the next. And the best part? None of this feels like health advice. It just feels like living. This week, I got a letter from 76-year-old Marvin in Arizona. He said after watching our earlier videos, he started 3 simple things: a 10-minute morning stretch, adding beans to his dinners, and joining a senior chess club. 6 months later, his doctor took him off 2 medications, and he just got back from a hiking trip with his new buddies. That's the power of stacking these habits. So here's my challenge to you today. Pick one tiny thing from each habit to start this week. Maybe it's standing during phone calls, adding 1 handful of greens to your plate, and calling that old friend you've been meaning to reconnect with. That's it. No drastic overhauls, just small steps toward the life those vibrant 100-year-olds are living right now. Because you deserve to wake up excited, not just to more years, but to better years. Now, I'd love to hear from you. In the comments, share which habit you're starting with, or your own family's longevity secret. And if this video inspired you, pay it forward by subscribing to support our channel, pushing the like button, and sharing it with someone you care about. After all, that's what tribes do. Here's to your next 100 years.